Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Thursday, January 24th, 2019. Today I'm going to recap both the men's and the women's side of the Australian Open, look ahead a little bit. College basketball, NBA, and NHL look ahead to tonight's games in each of those sports. An NBA injury, MLB free agency, and my best bet of the day. We are going to start with the men's side of the Australian Open as Rafael Nadal defeats Stefanos Tsitsipas as Nadal moves on, and he will face the winner of tomorrow night's semifinal match between Novak Djokovic and Lucas Piaget, and then the final will be Saturday night at 7:30 as Nadal will face the winner of tomorrow night's match. Good for Nadal. He's been incredible this tournament and a great run by Stefanos Tsitsipas. And on the women's side of things, Naomi Osaka defeats Karolina Pliskova to advance to the final. As last night as well, Petra Kvitova defeats Danielle Rose Collins to advance. What a run for Danielle Rose Collins. She was excellent. Kvitova against Osaka in the final. It'll be tomorrow night on ESPN. I'll pick the matchup tomorrow. Looking forward to it. This has just been a great tournament. A lot of unexpected happens. Serena going out early. Danielle Rose Collins goes on a great run. Stefanos Tsitsipas goes on a good run. And I'm really looking forward to see what happens in tomorrow's match between Djokovic and Piaget, as the winner of that will face Nadal in the final. That would be on Saturday night. College hoops, some interesting results from yesterday. American defeats Boston University 70-66. American goes to 9-9. BU drops to 9-11. Providence upsets Xavier 64-62. Providence 12-7. Xavier 11-9. Number 1 Tennessee defeats Vanderbilt 88-83 in overtime. Good win for Tennessee. Grant Williams went crazy. 41 points. And Tennessee goes to 17-1. Vandy drops to 9-9. Number 25 LSU defeats Georgia 92-82. LSU is unbeaten in conference play. They're 15-3. Georgia is 9-9. UMBC defeats Vermont 74-61. Big upset here. UMBC goes to 12-9. Vermont drops to 15-5. TCU defeats Texas 65-61. TCU 14-4. Texas 11-8. Hartford defeats New Hampshire 74-39. Hartford 10-10. UNH 3-15. Bradley defeats Illinois State 85-68. Bradley's 10-10. Illinois State's 11-9. Indiana State defeats Valparaiso 70-53. Indiana State 11-8. Valpost 12-8. Rhode Island defeats VCU 71-65. Rhode Island 11-7. VCU 13-6. Colgate defeats Lafayette 57-47. Colgate 11-8. Lafayette 5-13. FIU defeats FAU 78-74. FIU 13-7. FAU 11-9. Army defeats Holy Cross 76-57. Army 10-10. Holy Cross 11-9. St. Bonaventure defeats UMass 65-51. Bonaventure 7-12, UMass 7-12. Stony Brook defeats Albany 67-66 in overtime. Stony Brook 17-3 and Albany 15-5. St. Joe's defeats Richmond 74-70. St. Joe's 9-10, Richmond 7-12. UMass Lowell defeats Binghamton 85-79. UML 12-9, Binghamton 5-15. Lehigh defeats Navy 85-74. Lehigh 12-6, Navy 6-12. LaSalle defeats Fordham 73-71. LaSalle 4-14, Fordham 9-10. So LaSalle gets their first A10 win. Fordham still winless in conference play. Davidson defeats George Washington 73-62. Davidson 14-5. George Washington 6-13. George Mason defeats Dayton 67-63. George Mason's been unbelievable in conference play. What a big surprise. They're 12-8 and Davidson's 12-7. I'm sorry, Dayton 12-7. Purdue defeats Ohio State 79-67. Purdue 13-6. Ohio State 12-6. Ohio State hasn't won a game in the calendar year yet. Bucknell defeats Loyola Maryland 71-68. Bucknell 12-7. Loyola Maryland 7-13. Stephen F. Austin defeats Abilene Christian 61-60. Stephen F. Austin 10-8. ACU is 16-4. Sam Houston State defeats Northwestern State 78-64. Sam Houston State 11-8. Northwestern State 7-12. Number 17 Houston defeats East Carolina 94-50. Houston 19-1. ECU is 8-10. Southern Illinois defeats Northern Iowa 70-62. Southern Illinois 10-10. UNI 8-12. Duquesne defeats St. Louis 77-73. Duquesne 14-5. St. Louis 14-5. Lamar defeats Incarnate Word 87-81 in overtime. Lamar 9-10. Incarnate Word 6-13. North Dakota defeats South Dakota, or I'm sorry, it's vice versa. South Dakota defeats North Dakota 70-56. South Dakota 9-11. North Dakota 8-13. Southeast Louisiana defeats Houston Baptist 70-67. Southeast Louisiana 7-12. Houston Baptist 5-12. Central Arkansas defeats New Orleans 76-71. UCI 10-10. New Orleans 9-9. A&M Corpus Christi defeats Nichols 75-73. Corpus Christi 9-10. Nichols 10-10. UCF defeats Tulane 75-50. UCF 15-3. Tulane 4-14. Drake defeats Evansville 78-66. Drake 15-5. Evansville 9-11. Number 12 Marquette defeats DePaul 79-69. Marquette 17-3. DePaul 11-7. Oklahoma defeats Oklahoma State 70-61. Oklahoma 14-5. Oklahoma State 8-11. Wisconsin defeats Illinois 72-60. Wisconsin 13-6. Illinois 5-14. Arkansas defeats Missouri 72-60. Arkansas 11-7. Missouri 10-7. Missouri State defeats Loyola Chicago 70-35. Missouri State 9-11. Loyola Chicago 12-8. Wyoming defeats San Jose State 59-46. Wyoming 5-14. San Jose State 3-15. UC Riverside defeats Cal Poly 74-51. Riverside 8-13. Cal Poly 4-13. Cal State Northridge defeats Long Beach State 86-71. Northridge 9-12. Long Beach State 8-12. Number 7 Nevada defeats Colorado 100-60. Nevada 19-1. Colorado 7-12. And UC Irvine defeats Hawaii 75-74 in overtime. Irvine 16-5. Hawaii 11-7. Today's slate is big. Or should I say tonight's slate is pretty big. One final already. IUPUI defeated Oakland 73-71 in a matinee game as IUPUI improves to 12-9 and Oakland dropped to 9-12. 7 o'clock on Fox Sports 1, you have number 6 Michigan State and number 19 Iowa. Michigan State's a 5.5-point favorite. Hey, guess what? Michigan State's finally going to lose a Big Ten game. It's come to the hands of the Iowa Hawkeyes. The Hawkeyes are going to win this game straight up as they'll hand Michigan State the first conference loss as Iowa wins outright and covers. William & Mary at UNC Wilmington, Sacred Heart Robert Morris, ESPN2, Tulsa at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a 14-point favorite. Cincinnati beat Tulsa a few weeks ago in overtime in a game where Tulsa should have won. I think Cincinnati wins and covers. They're obviously the better team. The line is weird at 14. I think it should be lower, but something's telling me something here. And I like how Cincinnati's been playing, and they play good defense. So give me Cincinnati to win, but barely cover. Wouldn't be shocked if Tulsa actually covered. Central Connecticut State and Bryant, Jacksonville at North Florida, Milwaukee at Wright State, the Citadel at UNC Greensboro, LIU at Mount St. Mary's, Charleston Southern at Radford, Gardner Webb at Winthrop on ESPNU. Winthrop is favored by 5.5. I like how Winthrop is played, so give me Winthrop to win and cover. St. Francis Brooklyn at Fairleigh Dickinson, Wagner at St. Francis, Pennsylvania, Siena at Fairfield, Presbyterian at Campbell, High Point and Longwood, CBS Sports Network, Memphis at Temple. Temple's favored by 5. Memphis has been playing much better basketball lately. I think that Temple's the better team, and I think they win and cover, although don't rule out Memphis upsetting them here. Monmouth at Canisius, Green Bay at Northern Kentucky, Utah Valley at UMKC, Samford at Wofford, South Carolina Upstate at Hampton, Texas Arlington at Georgia Southern, Kennesaw State at North Alabama, Northeastern at Towson, Hofstra at James Madison, Chattanooga at Furman, Alon at Charleston, NJIT at Stetson, Texas State at Georgia State, Florida Gulf Coast at Lipscomb at 7:30. Jacksonville State at Eastern Kentucky. Coastal Carolina and Little Rock. VMI at Mercer. Omaha at Purdue Fort Wayne. Tennessee Tech at Morehead State. 8 o'clock. A big one in the ACC. Number 21 NC State at number 23 Louisville. Louisville's a 4-point favorite. Tough call here. Chris Mack is a darn good coach. I think NC State stays within the number. I think they can win outright. This is tough. I'm going to take Louisville to win, but NC State covers. I think this is a 3-point game. Last team with the ball wins type of game with a lot of free throws and whatnot. It just feels like a classic game where Louisville wins by like 1 or something like that. UAB at North Texas. North Texas, by the way, only 2 losses on the year. Troy at UL Monroe. North Dakota State at South Dakota State. South Alabama at Louisiana. Detroit Mercy at UIC. Seattle at Chicago State. Middle Tennessee at Rice. Appalachian State at Arkansas State. Charlotte at UTSA. Miami at Syracuse. On the ACC Network, Syracuse is an 8.5-point favorite. Miami has not been good in conference play. Syracuse has, so give me Syracuse to win and cover. Western Kentucky at Southern Miss. 8:30 Eastern Illinois at Tennessee Martin. 8:45 SIU Edwardsville at Southeast Missouri State. 9 o'clock on the CBS Sports Network. Marshall at Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech is a 4-point favorite. I think they win and cover. Southern Utah at Northern Colorado. Tennessee State at Austin Peay. Weber State at Montana State. Utah at Stanford, 9 o'clock on Pac-12 Network. Stanford's favored by 2.5. I think Stanford is okay. I said last week that they were the worst team in the Pac-12. I take that back. It's Washington State still. I kind of forgot that Washington State was bad at basketball. So, I don't feel great about this, but I'm going to take Stanford to win at home. I just liked how they played against a bad Washington State team. They blew them out, and then they beat somebody else good recently, too. It's going to be Stanford at home. Rare opportunity where I'd pick Stanford as a favorite, let alone period. I'd never pick Stanford basketball. Arizona at USC. 9 o'clock on Fox Sports 1 to pick them. Give me the Trojans at home. They have the better team. ESPNU, Belmont at Murray State. Murray State's favored by 5.5. I'm taking Murray State to win and cover. Their star player, John Morant, has been outstanding. He's going to be a lottery pick, and he'll lead Murray State to another win as they'll improve to 16-2. Old Dominion at UTEP. 9 o'clock on ESPN2. Washington at Oregon. This is probably the Dave Pasch, Bill Walton special. Oregon's at home and they're favored by 2.5, and I think they win and cover. They've surprisingly been decent without Bol Bol, and they're home, so I like them here, although this was a nice opportunity here for Washington to take advantage of the Bol Bol injury. Idaho State at Montana. 10 o'clock Portland at San Francisco. Santa Barbara at CSU Fullerton. Loyola Marymount at San Francisco. Cal State Bakersfield at Cal Baptist. Eastern Washington against Portland State. Idaho at Sacramento State. 11 o'clock. Number 4 Gonzaga at Santa Clara. Gonzaga is favored by a whopping 21 points on the road. They've been a winning and covering machine of late. They are one of the best 3 teams in the country, giving Gonzaga to win and the cover. On the Pac-12 Network at 11 o'clock, you have Washington State at Oregon State. Oregon State's favored by 12.5. I think they win that and cover. Colorado at Cal. Cal, you could argue, is the worst team in the Pac-12. I forgot how bad Cal is. That's your worst team. Colorado's favored by 5.5. I think they win and cover. St. Mary's at BYU on ESPN2. St. Mary's is a 2-point road favorite. I think the wrong team's favored here, so give me BYU at home to pull off the slim home upset. And 11 o'clock on Fox Sports 1, Arizona State at UCLA. UCLA's favored by 1.5. I don't love this UCLA team, although they've been playing better since the firing of Steve Walford. But Bobby Hurley's team needs wins to ensure themselves an at-large bid. I like their chances, so give me Bobby Hurley and the Sun Devils to get the road win as a 1.5-point underdog. Let's go to the NBA. big slate last night. The Pacers defeat the Raptors 110-106. There's something I have to talk about with the Pacers in a couple of minutes as they go to 32-15 at a costly price. Toronto drops to 36-14. Thaddeus Young had 23 points in the win. Darren Collison had 17. Miles Turner had 13 with 10 boards. And Bogdan Bogdanovic had 16 off the bench. Domantas Sabonis had 12. And Tyreek Evans had 11. Pascal Siakam had 16. Serge Ibaka had 23 with 11 boards. Kyle Lowry had 20 with 5 boards and 7 assists. Fred VanVleet had 14. Danny Green had 10. Kawhi Leonard didn't play due to rest. Norman Powell off the bench had 12. The Rockets defeat the Knicks 114-110. To improve to 27-20, Knicks dropped to 10-36. James Harden was magnificent. 61 points, 15 boards, 4 assists. He did not shoot well, 17 of 38 in 40 minutes, but he single-handedly carried this team to victory last night. Kenneth Faried had 11. Eric Gordon had 20, including a big three-pointer at the end of regulation. The bench didn't do anything. Alonzo Trier had 31 points and 10 boards off the bench for New York. Mitchell Robinson off the bench had 12. Noah Vonleh had 10. Kevin Knox had 12 with 8 boards. Emmanuel Mudiay had 14, and Tim Hardaway Jr. had 21. The Celtics defeat the Cavaliers 123-103. The Celtics are 30-18. Cleveland's 9-40. Terry Rozier had 26 points, 8 boards, and 6 assists, and replacing Kyrie Irving in the starting lineup. Al Horford didn't play either. Jason Tatum had 15. Marcus Morris had 11. Off the bench, Gordon Hayward had 18. He's starting to play better. Jaylen Brown had 23. And Brad Wanamaker had 11. Meanwhile, for Cleveland, C.D. Osman had 25, including 6 3-pointers and 8 boards. Ante Zizic had 19 with 8 boards. Colin Sexton had 16. Alec Burks had 10. And Jordan Clarkson off the bench had 14. The Nets defeat the Magic 114-110. Brooklyn 26-23. Orlando 20-28. Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench, 29 points. He should be the favorite for the 6th Man of the Year award. Damari Carroll had 19 off the bench as well. And with the starters, D'Angelo Russell had 25, 7 boards and 10 assists. And Joe Harris and Rodions Caruso each had 13. Nikola Vucevic had 21 points and 14 boards. DJ Augustine had 19 with 6 assists. Jonathan Isaac had 16. Aaron Gordon had 10 with 6 boards. And off the bench, Jonathan Simmons had 13. The Clippers defeat the Heat 111-99. A very impressive win for Doc Rivers' team. They're 26-22. Miami drops to 22-24. Tobias Harris had 31 points, 7 boards, and 6 assists. Marcin Gortat had 10 with 8 boards. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 10. Avery Bradley had 12. Montrezl Harrell had 16 off the bench. Lou Williams had 13 off the bench. Tyler Johnson had 15. Hassan Whiteside had 22 with 16 boards. Josh Richardson had 17. Justice Winslow had 11. And off the bench, Dwayne Wade had 13. The 76ers defeat the Spurs 122-120. A good come-from-behind win for Philly in a game that they had to have. They're 32-17. San Antonio's 27-22. Joel Embiid, 33 points and 19 boards. Ben Simmons, 21 points, 10 boards, 15 assists. J.J. Redick had 19. Wilson Chandler only had 6. Corey Brewer only had 9. No Jimmy Butler again. Off the bench, Landry Shamet had 14 and T.J. McConnell had 10. Meanwhile, for San Antonio, DeMar DeRozan, 26 points with 9 boards. Bryn Forbes had 14. Derek White had 15. LaMarcus Aldridge had 13. Rudy Gay had 17. Off the bench, Patty Mills had 17. And Marco Bellinelli had 16, including a couple big 3-pointers. The Hawks defeat the Bulls 121-101. Atlanta improves to 15-32. Chicago drops to 11-37. John Collins, 35 points with 8 boards. Taurean Prince had 15. Dwayne Dedmon had 14. Alex Len had 14. Jeremy Lin had 15. Meanwhile, for the Bulls, Lauri Markkanen had 22. Chris Dunn had 16. Zach LaVine had 23. And off the bench, Wayne Selden had 11. And Jabari Parker didn't play due to a patellar tendon sprain. The Hornets defeat the Grizzlies 118-107. Good win for Charlotte to go to 23-24. Memphis drops to 19-29. Kemba Walker, 22 points and 7 assists. Nicholas Batum had 18. Marvin Williams had 11. Jeremy Lamb had 17. And off the bench, Tony Parker had 17. Mike Conley had 31. Marcus Gasol had 22 with 17 boards and 10 assists. So triple-double there. Justin Holiday had 10. Jaren Jackson Jr. had 15. And off the bench, Jermichael Green had 14. The Pistons defeat the Pelicans 98-94. Detroit goes to 21-26. New Orleans goes to 22-26. Blake Griffin, 37 points, 9 boards, 7 assists. Reggie Jackson, 17 points. John Leuer had 11 off the bench. Meanwhile, for New Orleans, Drew Holiday, 29 points and 7 assists. Julius Randle, 13 points and 13 rebounds. Jahlil Okafor, 17 points, 10 boards. And off the bench, Nikola Mirotic had 11 points and 7 boards. And last but not least, the Jazz defeat the Nuggets 114-108. Good win for Utah. 27-22 on the year. Denver drops to 31-15. Donovan Mitchell, 35 points, 6 boards, 6 assists. Ricky Rubio had 17 with 6 assists. Rudy Gobert had 15 with 10 boards. Joe Ingles had 14 with 8 assists. And off the bench, Jay Crowder had 15. Meanwhile, for Denver, Nikola Jokic, 21 points, 21 boards, and 6 assists. Gary Harris had 16. And off the bench, Trey Lyles had 12. Monte Morris had 10. And Will Barton had 22. Only 4 games tonight on TNT at 8 o'clock. You have the Warriors at the Wizards. Golden State's laying 9.5. That is very small, and that's a steal. Give me the Warriors in a blowout over Kevin Durant's hometown team in the Wizards. Pelicans Thunder, 9 o'clock. The Trailblazers at the Suns. And at 10:30 on TNT, the Timberwolves at the Lakers. It's a pick'em. The better team, with or without LeBron James right now, is the Lakers, so I really like the Lakers to bounce back from that bad loss on Martin Luther King Day. So, give me the Lakers led by Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, and Lonzo Ball to lead them to a much-needed victory to get them to 26-23 on the year. Now we will go to the NHL. There were 6 games on the slate last night. The Maple Leafs defeat the Capitals 6-3. Toronto goes to 30-17-2. Washington drops to 27-17-6. That's 7 straight losses now for Washington. Number 1 star of the game with a hat trick and an assist, Nazem Kadri. Number 2 star of the game with 3 assists, William Nylander. Number 3 star of the game, 41 saves on 44 shots, Frederik Andersen. The Canadiens defeat the Coyotes 2-1. Good win for Montreal, 28-18-5. Arizona drops to 23-23-4. Number 1 star of the game didn't have a point, but just had a good game. Joel Armia. Number 2 star of the game with assist, Thomas Tatar. Number 3 star of the game with 30 saves on 31 shots, Carey Price. The Wild defeat the Avalanche 5-2. Good win for Minnesota on the road. They're 26-21-3. Colorado's 22-20-8. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals and an assist, Eric Staal. Number 2 star of the game with the goal and assist, Ryan Suter. Number 3 star of the game with the goal, Carl Soderberg. The Predators defeat the Golden Knights 2-1. Good win for Nashville. They are 30-18-4. Vegas is 29-19-4. Number 1 star of the game with 47 saves on 48 shots, Juuse Saros. Number 2 star of the game with no points, but just had a good game, Nate Schmidt. And the same goes for the number 3 star of the game, Cody Eakin. The Blues defeat the Ducks 5-1. A phenomenal win for the Blues to go to 22-22-5. Anaheim's 21-21-9. Number 1 star of the game with the goal and an assist, Zach Sanford. Number 2 star of the game with an assist, Ryan O'Reilly. Number 3 star of the game with the goal, Daniel Sprong. The Hurricanes defeat the Canucks 5-2. Carolina 24-20-6. Vancouver's 23-22-6. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals, new player for the Hurricanes, Nito Niederreiter. Number 2 star of the game with a goal and 2 assists, Teuvo Teravainen. Number 3 star of the game with the goal and an assist, Dougie Hamilton. No games today because we have the All-Star break coming up. The All-Star game will be had on Saturday, and we'll talk about some hockey on the podcast tomorrow. Bad news for the Indiana Pacers. Victor Oladipo is out for the season due to ruptured quad tendon. That is a phenomenal player that the Pacers will miss for the rest of the season. He is literally everything to the Pacers. The Pacers have literally no choice. And they're in a bad spot right now because do they go out and make a trade and try to go for the playoffs? But they literally have no choice because they're the 3 seed right now. There's no way they're going to completely tank the year. They're not going to put themselves in the position to draft Zion Williamson. What this tells me is if they don't make a trade, they are either going to miss the playoffs and tank the rest of the year and end up the first team to miss, be your number 9, or they drop to a bottom 4 seed and get swept in the first round by the Bucks, the 76ers, the Celtics, or the Raptors. But they're under pressure to make a trade. If I'm them, I go out and trade Kemba Walker right now. You send Charlotte a protected first-round pick, TJ Leaf, Aaron Holiday, and maybe one more like expiring or something for Kemba to try to go for it. With Kemba, Bojan Bogdanovic, Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis, and see where that takes you and see if you could potentially re-sign Kemba and add Oladipo to that, then you're a contender in the East for the next couple years. So I'm interested to see what the Pacers do in wake of this, but they're certainly not in the best position to tank per se. So if I'm them, I'd go out and trade for Kemba Walker or somebody of that nature. Some big free agent signings yesterday. A.J. Pollock signs a 5-year deal, $55 million with the Los Angeles Dodgers. $11 million a year might be a steal for this player, but he's somebody that has been injury prone over the last couple years and to me hasn't really lived up to expectations with the Diamondbacks. But to me, this comes away a little bit of a disappointment for the Dodgers. If you trade Yasiel Puig and Matt Kemp in a salary dump deal with Alex Wood, it was an NBA type of trade, and Magic Johnson probably told them, you have to sign Bryce Harper. They probably thought they were getting Bryce Harper, and no, they come away with a much inferior player in Pollock, who's injury prone, and that's what they come away with. That's a little bit of a disappointment for me, but still, he helps their lineup a little bit. Their outfield's going to be him, Cody Bellinger, and Alex Verdugo, it looks like. You're going to have Muncy at first base. You have Corey Seager coming back at shortstop. You have Chris Taylor at second. Kiki Hernandez is your utility guy. You have Justin Turner at third. Russell Martin at catcher. Your rotation's good. They should be the team to beat in the National League. But it's not the splashy move that everybody expected. And there's a lot of talk that they could, in theory, still be in play for JT Realmuto. If that's the case, they're the runaway favorites. If they get JT Realmuto and an ace pitcher, let's say Corey Kluber, if the Indians decide to trade him before the year, then they're the unequivocal favorites to come out of the National League. But right now, they are, to me, just the favorites, not the overwhelmingly favorites like the Golden State Warriors are in the NBA right now. And Brad Brock signed a 1-year, $3 million contract with the Chicago Cubs. Good signing for them. He improves their bullpen. The Cubs, I think, are in a good position right now. I just think that last year felt like a disappointment because they lost in the wild card game. They lost in Game 163, which sent them in the wild card game. Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo had down years by their standards. They had bounce back years. Javier Baez repeats last year, comes darn close, and they should be favorites to win the NL Central again. But the key for them is whether they're have to be in the conversation with the Dodgers or not, is whether Yu Darvish returns to form. If he does, then they belong in that conversation with the Dodgers among the favorites to go to the World Series. Best bet of the day is brought to you by FanDuel. 15-team moneyline parlay for you. You have the Warriors, the Thunder, the Blazers, Radford, Furman, Charleston, North Alabama, Wofford, UNC Greensboro, Cincinnati, Wright State, Mercer, Morehead State, South Dakota State, and Seattle. Plus 529, wagering $1.08 to win $5.72 with a payout of $6.90. I'll be back tomorrow doing my NFL mock draft. I'm going to talk about the NHL All-Stars, do my power rankings and predictions for the second half of the season. Maybe more free agents sign. And I'll obviously have tomorrow's best bet as well. And I'll obviously pick the tennis matchups that are left. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.